Well, hey there, folks. I thought I'd do a little update on the backyard this time of year here. Today is April 26th, 2023. It's about 6 p.m. in the evening. So, we only got a couple more days to go in April, then we'll be in May. So here's the great big cherry tree. And you can see it's just starting to get leaves on there, and it's got a few flower buds on there. They'll all turn to cherries here later on in the season. Still pretty sparse, but it's definitely getting there. So my grass is starting to green up. I do have a couple of green spots and mounds in it and stuff. I don't know if that's from the dogs urinating on the grass or what. But it's starting to green up. The way it's going, I'd say maybe another 2 or 3 weeks it should be nice and green. Got a couple things going on here. This here's an Icelandic poppy. They're a perennial here, and they're supposed to survive to -20, -30 and come back. I always thought poppies were annuals and that they just reseeded themselves, but apparently this variety is a perennial. So I figured I'd put that there. I don't know if I'm going to leave this bucket here or put it somewhere else, but for now I put it here. And I don't know what these guys are. I forgot. I planted them last year, but you can see they're coming back. Got a couple of these. I don't really know the names of a lot of the plants I get. Anything purple, I just call them some type of lavender. So put a couple of those in there. This here is a Coleobine. That's doing real good in there. There's my wife's fairy statue there. So these here are periwinkles. I planted these, I want to say, probably last year. As you can see, they grew down the pot, and they survived during the winter. They're pretty hardy. You know, they survived down to about, well, I guess we got down to about 15 degrees or so, give or take. Plenty of snow. But you could see all the new growth coming out of them. Aren't those pretty? Those little purple periwinkle flowers and all the new growth here. So I'm not sure if I should trim the old off or what. Oh, you can hear that dove in the background. There's that dove right there. They like to hang out on the ground radials for the CB antenna. It's probably up there calling its mate. Oh, there it goes. Flew away. So here's another periwinkle. And you can see it's really coming up nice. Same thing as the other one. These little boxes here, this is all stuff from last year. Got some bulbs coming up there and some, I don't know what kind of bulbs those are. I forget what I plant. I think these are like Cosmos or something. And here's the other one here. You can see that. It's all coming up. That'll grow pretty tall and get some real pretty colorful flowers on it later on here. So for these two pots right here, I originally had, I think I had the yellow, I don't know if they're called daisies, African daisies, I'm not sure what they're called. They grow pretty good in the heat, and they get yellow flowers on them, but they don't overwinter up here. They're not a perennial here in this part of the country, so those didn't make it. I planted some actually some grass like that in it last year, and as you can imagine, it really took off. And I've already got, you know, this grass will get, you know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 feet tall later on in the year. All this grass that I have here that's starting to come back here. So putting that grass in these pots too was just a little too much, and they were going to get too big. So I figured I'd try something else. And I think I got these at Home Depot in Reno. Of course, I can't tell you what they're called. I forgot the name. But I believe these ones, I think they get yellow flowers on them. I'm not sure. I'll have to wait till they bloom. I know I bought 4. I bought 2 that did yellow and 2 that did like pink or red or something. But anyways, I figured I'd put these in here. These are a perennial shrub, and they say they get like 4 feet wide and 4 feet tall, give or take. I know it's not that big of a pot, but what I'll do is I'll just keep them pruned back, and they should be fine in here, you know, for several years. And the good thing about these is they will come back every year because they're perennials. I think these are good for like -20 or -30, it said. So that's what I put in these here. So I think, you know, those will be good. I wanted something a little taller, and I think these will look nice in here. There's my wooden owl that a guy carved with a chainsaw there. Got the fountain running over there for the birds. You could probably hear it. The birds like drinking and bathing in that all day long. That right there is my peach tree. It's on its 3rd year. We'll go walk over there in a second. So I had some extra river rock when I did the side of my house in the front yard. I figured I'd bring it back here and, you know, try to break up the other rock a little bit. I think that kind of, you know, gives it a little dimension there. And I did this here maybe last year or the year before. Put some river rocks in here. You know, just kind of break it up and just give it a little 3-dimension type deal. Make it look a little better. I've got 2 of these tortoises. They're big concrete tortoises. They probably weigh about 60 pounds, give or take. We got another one in the front yard that I got years ago. Same exact thing, but he's a little darker. Guess they use a different, you know, a different dye in the concrete. That was my purple robe locust that the wind broke off last year. And I did have to cut it back with the chainsaw. So once these bulbs are all done blooming down here at the base, the daffodils, I might go ahead and see about try to get that trunk out of there. Try to get it all to the ground and plant another tree there. Maybe like a mulberry tree, a non-fruiting mulberry, because my tortoises would really enjoy that. Speaking of the tortoises, one of them I see is coming out of its burrow right now. There's that above ground burrow I built for it up there. Let's zoom in. Hey. I think that's the male. Could be the female. I'm going to have to go up there and see. Let me go get some dandelions. I'll go ahead and get some dandelions for him real quick. Stand by. Alright folks, so this one here is the female. And as you can see, I put some dandelions there for her, and she's going to go to town on those. One of their favorite foods. They love dandelions. They love mulberry leaves. Two of their favorite things. So anyway, since we're here, here's that peacock I put out here. The metal iridescent peacock. There's my favorite goat. My wife and my son got me. I believe they got me this for Father's Day. He's up here on his hill right here. So these grass plants will get real big. They'll get about 6 feet tall. You can see they're starting to come up. I did plant some sunflowers. You can see them just starting to peek up there. They're not mammoth sunflowers. I put like 3 different varieties this year, and they each get a different color flower, and they're only supposed to get between like 2 and 4 feet tall. Try to keep it a little bit more manageable, because those mammoth ones, they can get 12 or 14 feet tall, and you know, they droop over. Those heads on them just get gigantic. Let's Let's see, what do we have over here? There's a dish for the tortoise there. There's a vine. I planted that about 3 years ago. It died the first year. Second year, I think the tortoises ate it or it died. I don't know. I thought it was done for. But it's actually coming back again. It looks like it's going to take hold this year. I know it's a flowering vine. Hopefully we can get it growing up the fence here or something. This here's a grapevine. You can see it's starting to put out leaves. Once the tortoises notice this, there won't be anything left. They'll eat that on a daily basis. But this part here, you know, should grow, so we'll have to see how that does. I believe this one here is I think this is the honeysuckle, I believe. Yeah, I think this one's honeysuckle. And birds actually go in there all day long. A lot of birds in there. There's that cottonwood tree stump that a guy carved into a chair that I brought back with me when I went to Oregon to buy firewood. Took that home with me. One of the rocks we've collected out in the desert. This here is jasmine, I believe. It looks like jasmine. My male tortoise is actually in there. He prefers going in there at night, so whatever works. I've also got a lot of birds in there in the daytime. I almost wonder if they're building a nest in there. Here's another grapevine. This one here is bigger. As you can see, it's sprouting down there, some leaves, but also up here. So the tortoises will get that down there, but they won't be able to touch what's up higher. So I think this is on its third year, second or third year. So it should start growing pretty decent this year. Here's a little wine barrel with the koi fish in it. Of course you can't see them, they're way down there at the bottom, but we got the new pump and filter in there and it's keeping that water pretty clear there. So just planted this in here today. This here's a butterfly bush. They get real pretty purple flowers. It's supposed to attract butterflies, hence the name. So it's a perennial, and I believe it said it's good for like -10 or -20, so it'll definitely come back next year. And then here's another one of those flowering vines like I just showed you up there. I thought it was done for, I really did, but it's like its third year. It really struggled the first 2 years, but it's really thriving right now. I mean, it's only been up for a few days, so I originally planted that there because I wanted it to grow up Bird Village here. So hopefully it will. I think that would be a real nice addition. You can see these grass plants are already exploding here. And the butterfly bush right here definitely calls for full sun, so it should do great because this is full sun all day. There's a look at the Bird Village again. Not sure if we have any residents in there yet, but we usually get a bird resident in that house and that house each year. They prefer those, so we'll see what happens. Alright folks, so here's my apple tree. This was a 3 variety of apple tree. Of course it's a grafted tree. And we had really bad wind. I don't think it was last year. I think it was a year before. Anyways, it came out of the ground kind of like that. See how that has two trunks coming out? It's like that. Well, the wind broke the one side off, so threw it away. Couldn't save it, and the tree survived. Now, I did really prune this back pretty hard this year because it was just getting out of control. It was going crazy. I'm not an arborist, but I did watch a lot of YouTube videos and I did talk to an arborist. And I didn't prune it back quite as hard as they would have, but I did prune it back a lot. My wife thought it was dead after I pruned it. I told her, don't worry, it'll come back. And as you can see, we're getting leaves on it. Gonna have some buds on there pretty soon, and that'll turn to fruit. There's a praying mantis egg sac. This one here hasn't hatched yet. One of them did, but this one here hasn't. So hopefully get a lot of apples this year. And even if we don't eat them, the birds will. The birds will love them. Same thing with the pear tree. If we don't eat the pears, the birds will eat them. Especially the woodpeckers. They like them a lot. Woodpeckers and robins. American robins. So the same thing with the pear tree. You know, it wasn't growing wide. It was just growing straight up. And it was, you know, several feet taller than this. It was really far up there. And the wind never knocked this one over, but I was always nervous about it. And it's also a 3 variety pear tree, so it gets 3 different varieties of pears. I know it gets Asian pears, like over here on this side, and it gets another type. It kind of looks like an Asian pear over here, but it's different. And then up top, it gets, you know, the pear you're used to seeing at the grocery store, but it's like a reddish color. And those are the big heavy ones, so you can imagine the whole top of the tree just drooped over all the time. So it kind of hurt me to prune it back like this, but as you can see, I did cut it, you know, basically the main branch going up there, and that's what I was told to do. Actually, the arborist said he would have cut it down a little lower. I didn't want to go quite that far. I figure I can always do it next year. But see, this one here is coming back too. They told me you can't hurt these fruit trees. They'll come back no matter what. And apparently, if you cut them down lower, prune them, it encourages them to, you know, produce more fruit. It's easier for you to pick because it's not way high out of your reach. And it should encourage the tree to grow outward, you know, a thicker tree, a wider tree. So we'll see if that works. Lots of flowers on there, though. All right, so this here is my peach tree. I think it's a Red Baron peach tree. This is on its 3rd year. Haven't got any fruit yet, but we do have some marvelous blooms on this one. I really like the colors, that deep pink there, like a reddish pink. I think that's a beautiful tree. I did have one of the praying mantis egg sacs right about there already hatch on this one. And it looks like my dog left me a present right there on the grass. But yeah, this is a real pretty tree here. Even if it doesn't give us fruit this year, I think it's just really nice to look at, and you know, trees are always nice. I'll kind of give you a view here. Just go around like so. You can see where everything's at. We did just recently go out in the desert and collect some rocks. From what people have said on YouTube, these darker rocks are most likely slate. I thought they were petrified wood, but the consensus is it's slate. And of course the whiter rocks, that's quartz, and it has like, you know, different minerals in there. It's got some silver ore and stuff in there. This is growing back from last year. This is actually one of those, I believe, right there. If it's not one of those, it's something similar. So that's coming back, so we'll just let that go. We won't plant anything else in there. These really need to be repainted. The sun's UV has just really taken a toll on these. This one here is an empty pot, so I got to get something planted in that. Nothing's coming up there, which I'll put something there. These are my beautiful giant tulips. I've already lost one, the biggest one of all, but it's already wilted away and fallen off. They're past their prime now, but aren't those some beautiful giant tulips? Look at how big they are compared to my hand here. And they're huge. I planted 2 of them here probably 3 or 4 years ago. And with bulbs, if you don't know, every year they multiply and they put out more plants and more flowers. So those are always nice. This here's a perennial. It's coming back up. My wife really likes the colors on this one here. And this one here, this will explode. This will be 3-4 feet tall and just grow everywhere pretty soon. That's spearmint, I believe. Guys, if you want something that'll take over your whole yard and come back every year, any type of mint will do it. Trust me. This started growing a couple weeks ago, and it's just gotten huge. This is catmint. And this will just grow crazy. It'll get way too big. But it is contained in a pot, and just look at that greenery. It'll get little purple tiny flowers on it. Oh, and also something I forgot to mention about the apple tree here. You guys may have caught it. I tried to spread those two limbs out with those pieces of wood, and I know this branch right here needs to be cut off because you don't want them rubbing. I'm just not ready to get rid of it yet. I know I'll eventually have to do it, but for right now I'm going to leave it. There's another shot of the cherry tree. The birds, they really love to eat them cherries, especially the robins, the American robins. Well, they like the cherries. You know, they almost seem to like the apples and pears when they've been on the ground and they like ferment, but they also love worms. And there's a little Mr. or Mrs. Squirrel right there on the tree. And this here is a favorite of birds every year. This little, I guess it's ceramic or clay or something, this little beehive birdhouse I got. I thought my wife would like it. I never thought a bird would go in it. But this is the first one they go in every year, and there's actually a resident in there. It's just not in there because I'm filming right now. But they love that one. And we did see a hummingbird already. So I've got a couple of the feeders up already for them. Another feeder over there on the other side of the tree. And another one right here in front of the window. Oh, and these rocks probably aren't going to stay here. I'll probably put them around the yard. This is just a storing location for them right now. And here's a climbing rose bush. This was just insane out of control. So I pruned it all back. And it's already growing just crazy like. I really thinned it out at the bottom. I took a lot of the branches out of there. I tried to make it more manageable at the bottom on both sides there. But don't worry, it'll fill up, and if you don't keep that trimmed once a week in the summer, it'll close up right there. They're very, very vigorous growers. They'll get nice pink roses all over it. And I should have some praying mantises on there because I know this egg case here is already hatched. And I'm just waiting for the other one right here. It should hatch someday soon. And over here, this is periwinkle and some bulbs coming up in the middle. Some strawberries that aren't looking too hot. Hopefully they'll catch on. Some type of a flowering shrub I planted. I forget the name, but it's doing real well. I pruned it back quite a bit. And these mantises already hatched. I think I made a video on it. And then over here, here's another type of shrub. It gets two different colors, and I pruned this one back pretty good, and it's just coming back real nice. And there's some nice daffodils in there, and there's some daffodils coming up there next to Mr.